Well, November 13th. Still pretty crappy about the way things turned out last night, but they could figure out that I really didn't miss that buck. I just should have paid better attention to where his antlers were and consideration of his body, and ended up hitting him in the antler, and it glanced the arrow off. And now I'm on vacation right now for hunting, so I swung by my work to show the video to the guys, and of course, the moment I pull into work to show off the video, the water pump on my Duramax blew up. So luckily enough, a big shout out to my pops for letting me borrow the Suburban. He probably knew I was on the verge of a mental breakdown, because I just literally took the time yesterday before I went hunting to repair a couple things on my truck, and yep, still blew the water pump out of it. So now I'm getting in here late to the spot because I had to drop the kids off, water pump blew, etc., etc. And of course, on a Thursday, another hunter already in here, so I'm gonna try my best to avoid him. Normally I wouldn't even come into the spot, but I'm hoping he's didn't plan on going back as far as I did. Probably did. So if I walk up on you, buddy, sorry. Just the way it is. I'll do everything in my power to try to avoid you, but started off yesterday's video with gratitude, and you can't even make this crap up, man. I brought a deer hide. It's in my dad's car, and I was gonna freaking bring that out here and drape it over a log or something, but I ended up not doing that. And it's 10 a.m. I got about an hour and a half walk back in here, and hopefully I don't run into this guy anywhere. I don't want to ruin his hunt, but frustrating, man. Frustrating. Well, anyways, we'll see you back there. I just wanted to make this note. We're crossing the flats right now, but I just wanted to make this note because I know it's going to happen. I would be willing to bet my entire life savings and everything that this guy is going to be exactly where I'm heading. I mark my words right now. I'm going to make that note before we get back in here. Guarantee you, he's hunting right back there where I'm heading. So, well, the good news is I'm getting closer back here to my area, and it don't look like the leaves are really disturbed much more on the trail. Looks like everything's settled from where I walked out last night. I went ahead and put some Tink 69 on my bottom of my boots. There's a ladder stand right back here that I filmed last night, and if they're not in that, I think I'm safe to carry on, but here's to hoping. just jumped up a doe up at the top of this ridge. And maybe a buck. I seen a flash of another deer go by up there, but I'm not sure. All I know for sure is a doe, so. I figured they'd better right up at the top of this ridge somewhere, and I was trying to only push like half to 3/4 of the way up the ridge, but trying to find me a tree here somewhere to get set up in. That wind's starting to pick up. Thermals, temperature's supposed to get up to the mid-50s today, so I know that scent's gonna be pulling up towards the top of the ridge. Trying to get high for the first half of my hunt. So, already seen a deer. Hopefully I didn't booger him up too bad. I was turkey calling. I got pretty close to him before they really realized what was going on, so I'm going to try to push up just a little ways. See a beech tree up here. That's a pretty good candidate for a setup for the first part of my hunt, so we're going to get up a tree and see what happens. Well, hi there. I'm Drexel Homer. You feel like your life's going way too smooth lately. Your constant successes are just becoming dull and boring. And I introduce you to self-filming recurve bow hunts on public land. And you'll have a fresh new failure to sulk over every single day. Alright, but seriously though, I'm still pretty disappointed in myself for rushing that shot last night and not paying attention to where his antlers were and everything, and relative to his body. He come under me, directly underneath of me, and my dad and my grandpa, they might be right. When you shoot a recurve bow, you don't have no whisker biscuit or anything holding your arrow in place and shooting straight up and down. That arrow very well may have not been sitting right on the rest. It might have been kind of hanging, free floating in the air, so the only thing I can really that makes me feel better is that I didn't just straight up miss that buck by 2 feet to the left. And in practice, here's a fun fact for you. In practice with my recurve bow and everything, that's a hawk. Well, that was pretty cool. But to continue what I was saying, I'm happy I didn't straight up miss that bow. And fun fact, in practice and everything with my bow, when I shoot that thing, I shoot looking straight down the top of the arrow at the broadhead. And I never, ever, 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 never have I ever missed the target left or right. I always shoot up or down. And that's because I look straight down the arrow as the arrow flies. So that was one of the things that confused me so much last night is I hit 2 foot to the left of that buck, which I just couldn't make no sense out of. And as I said earlier, once me and my wife reviewed the footage over and over again, we realized that the shot didn't even sound right. Like, it's immediately after the bow goes off, you hear a solid hit. And that was me hitting the antler of that big buck, so. Frustrating, but kind of nice to know I didn't just fling an arrow off in the wild blue yonder. So, we're up the tree now. I got a good maple here, rubs, scrapes everywhere, all around me. Up about, I'd say I'm about 3/4 of the way up this ridge line, hoping that as the thermals are pulling up the hill, they'll be coming through high, but I'm right on the edge of this heavy beech cover. Now last night I said I didn't think they'd step out in the open, and of course they did, but the big buck that I shot at, he come from the thick cover. So, we're up in the tree. I'm not sure what time it is. Let's see here. Well, I'd say it's long about 11 o'clock, so. About 11 o'clock in the morning, we just got up in our stand. And we'll be here all day. Hopefully, I get a shot of redemption at some point before dark, so. There's so many bucks in here running does. I would have shot any one of them bucks happily. So, trying to stay positive. Hopefully it happens. Bring me some goldfish and stuff for lunch. I accidentally spilled in my hoodie pocket. I just scooped him out on the ground out here, so hopefully all the deer like goldfish too. Well, I looked over my shoulder earlier and I had seen a deer back there, so I looked through my binoculars and a little 4-pointer. I seen a doe with him, obviously in heat. She started running up the hill all goofy, kind of hunchbacked, and I heard her bleat pretty loud. Oh, God. So I got out my bleat call and bleat like 3 times in unison and quit, so. They was like almost in my window, so I'm hoping the mother bucks and stuff are further to the west. When they come down this ridge, they don't end up catching my wind, so pretty good start. it's starting to pile in, all from the same direction. But that wind is not doing me any favors right now. It keeps intermittently blowing up the hill their way, which I knew the thermals would be pulling up. I'm just hoping if a buck comes in, he comes in lower or later when the temperature starts to drop and pulling down the hill. And then they won't be able to smell me, and they'll all kind of come down this hill feeding. But I guess we'll see. That wind is not cooperating whatsoever, and I just blew that herded does out. It was all up the hill feeding, and my scent was kind of intermittently turning and going up the hill, and I knew that my thermals with the raising temperatures would be going up the hill, but it's been doing all right. I mean, for the most part, and you'd kind of tell that here and there they'd get a little skittish, and every single one of them that walked in, as soon as they walked in, they'd raise their head and start sniffing, and yeah, I'm watching that milkweed right now go right up the hill. And I climbed 3/4 of the way up this hill to set up, knowing that with the higher temperatures it would be pulling my scent up the hill. And it's not cooperating. I already busted a herd of does out, and they all ran up the hill, over the ridge, and the only good news we got is that it's only just now 3 o'clock, and I'm usually not even getting back here until way later, like 3:40, almost 4 or so. Dang it, man. All I can hope is that since it's so early, later tonight, maybe the thermals get to pulling down the hill, wind's gonna die down. Maybe they'll come back. But man, is that frustrating. end of legal shooting light. And all we've seen tonight is a bunch of them young bucks. We had a little 4-pointer walk directly beneath me and work this scrape. That tall right 4-pointer, he's left and come back 5 or 6 times today. The basket rack 8-pointer that I got on film making that rub the other day, he come in. That wind was swirling something fierce all day long. It'd be blowing straight west, then straight north, then straight east, then straight south, then straight north, and it was just never, ever consistent. It was all over the place. And every single time the deer come in, it seemed like it was blowing that way. I got winded by every single deer that come in tonight. Every single one of them. I'm sure the fact that my clothes reek of diesel fuel